Hey everybody, I know you probably are just wondering, what time it is. Um, it's about basically 9:12 in the evening on this Thursday, December 15th, the day before payday. But I wanted to come on here and I will do a video of this. I will be sending this via file mail to my email, but I wanted to come on here and talk about some news items that have come out over the past 24 hours, I guess you could say, more like updates, if you will, to stories we've talked about. First of all, we have Vince McMahon. Now, I've done on-camera video. I've done a audio video podcast talking about the fact, of how, he's trying to make a comeback. There's new allegations. And basically how one person, David from the Pro Wrestling World Facebook page, in his best way, kind of explained that Vince trying to make a comeback will not be as easy as Vince thinks, because Vince basically would not really have the ability. Well, he does have the ability, but basically he would, how do I put this, he would be causing a lot of trouble for himself and for the company. That is for sure. So yeah, the way David explained it basically, and you can check out the video, the audio video, and the podcast as well, is basically Vince needs to reconsider, even doing any attempt at, trying to make a comeback, trying to make a play to get back into power and run things again. And what's even more interesting is you have a lot of allies, some major allies, according to Dave Meltzer and some other sources, close to Vince, that basically are telling him, don't do it. Don't try to make a play to, get back into power. It's not going to do you any good. They're basically trying to talk him out of it. Now, there are some, from what I understand from the last one, that I guess were, for him doing it, because he said basically, according to reports, via the Wall Street Journal, that he got bad advice. And we have to wonder who he got this bad advice from. He basically the report said it was bad advice from those close to him. So you have to wonder if those close to him are the same major allies that are trying to talk him out of trying to make a comeback. And you have to wonder if maybe, just maybe, some of those allies might just be family. You never know. But yeah, the report that got updated today a little bit was the fact that there are major allies close to Vince that are telling him, don't even think about trying to make a comeback, because it's going to cause trouble. And I think they're telling him this now, because of the fact that these new allegations, these new allegations against him have come out publicly. And that what was probably shown on Tuesday with the 9 Lives of Vince McMahon, is, essentially not a good sign for him. It's not a good look for him, in any shape or form. It's not. So I don't blame, people for, feeling that way, for kind of like, being like, look, Vince, we get you, probably believe you don't know what to do outside of running the company, but it's a bad idea if you try to make a comeback. And it would be a bad idea. There is, no getting around that. It would be a bad idea. But alongside the Vince situation, we also have more confirmation on Mandy. Now, as many people have said, the belief with Mandy is there's still a good chance she can come back, because one of the things that was confirmed today is that Mandy's contract status is actually a main roster contract status. Yeah. So instead of 30 days, she's got 90. And, you know, you might say, well, she was on NXT for over a year. You know, well, you know, why would she have 90 days? Didn't they restructure it maybe? Don't they do that? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I mean, you can go down to NXT, you know, and try to, you know, make yourself better, try to improve yourself. But, you know, in the end, you're still considered a main roster talent. I mean, look at AJ Styles. Look at AJ Styles, okay? You know, he went down there for, you know, a couple of weeks, going between there and Monday Night Raw. And did he have his contract restructured? No. You know, he didn't have his contract restructured. You know, instead he still had a main roster contract. He was just down there for, you know, a couple of weeks. That's it. You know, again, he was going back and forth too between Monday Night Raw. That's what he was doing. You know, that's what he was doing. So Mandy Rose, one of the updates that came out is she has a 90 days non-compete clause. That's it. You know, she can't compete for any other major promotion or get signed by any other major promotion, you know, for 90 days, for at least 3 months. So she got released yesterday, which was the 14th? The 14th? If she got released yesterday, then you're looking at January being 30, February being 60. You're looking essentially, ladies and gentlemen, you're looking essentially at, and I'm not trying to kid about this, you are looking essentially at March. You're probably looking at her debuting after Revolution. And that's a fact. She may debut after Revolution. And, you know, if she was to go to AEW, that is. But then again, that may not be the case. That may not be the case because, again, she has 90 days, and there is strong talk of her probably going back to WWE. I think what would happen, though, is she would go straight to the main roster because of who's running things there. And that's where another part of the update for Mandy comes in. You see, Mandy, you know, believe it or not, you know, the reason she was released, thanks to WWE, you know, of course it was because of the content, you know, because of the risque, you know, content that basically got revealed, basically got noticed. But what's interesting, and I know people when they heard about this are probably gonna, you know, probably play the, you know, religious card and all that, because what happened, according to Dave Meltzer again and some other sources, whether you believe them or not, Matt Bloom, formerly A-Train, if you will, Prince Albert, Lord Tensai, if you will, Giant Bernard in New Japan. Matt Bloom, who's a trainer for WWE, developmental, NXT, if you will, according to Dave Meltzer, found out about the more risque photos, if you will, and reported it to Shawn. And Shawn, his reaction, according to Meltzer and others, was, we got to take the belt off her immediately. And you might be wondering, well, why would Shawn care? You know, he's been known to do things that are risky in the past. Yes, that was during the beginnings of the Attitude Era. That was during the beginnings, the infancy of the Attitude Era. You know, at a time when Bret Hart was, you know, still there in WWE, but in his final months. You know, so yeah, Shawn has been known for, you know, doing and promoting risky material, but you know, here's the thing, Shawn is now a born-again Christian. And even though he doesn't go to church as much as anybody else that's a born-again Christian should, he still believes in God. He still looks at, you know, Jesus as his Lord and Savior and getting him out of the funk that he was in. And, you know, being that way now, being, you know, a prayer warrior, if you will, for the Lord, and, you know, trying to raise his family in the right, in the right path, you know, along with his wife. You know, the thing is, also knowing that he's developing talent, you know, the new generation of talent for seemingly a PG-13 family-friendly product. When, you know, he hears and sees, you know, hears about this and sees it, of course, you know, initial reaction for him is, oh man, we can't let this, you can't let this pass. Because also remember, Shawn knows from experience that if you do anything this risque, especially if your content is still considered family friendly, like WWE's was during the infancy of the Attitude Era, it's going to get you and the company in a lot of trouble. Especially if it involves somebody that, again, as I've mentioned before, let's not kid ourselves, WWE was going to push as the face of the women's division when she got to the main roster, and that's Mandy Rose. So yeah, it was Shawn Michaels that basically made the call to get the belt off her. I don't think it was his call to get a release, but it was his call to get the belt off her. So yeah, there's a little bit more. So yeah, there's a little bit more information that came out, like I said, you know, concerning Mandy's release and how it came about. And that's one of the major parts of it, according to Meltzer and others that have reported it. And then probably the biggest news story that came out today was Mercedes Varados, aka Sasha Banks. Apparently, it was confirmed that a report by Raj, I think his name was Raja Guy, earlier this year in the summer, about Sasha being gone from WWE, being, you know, let out of a contract, I guess was true. It was confirmed today that indeed what he reported back in the summer of this year was true. And, you know, this would explain why she's able to make all these, you know, trademarks, or do all these trademarks for saying, you know, for sayings, and, you know, make these appearances at conventions, you know, under her real name, and even say formerly known as, and stuff. You know, to explain everything, and explain also why New Japan is booking her for Wrestle Kingdom. But what's interesting is her name is still on the roster page. When you go to WWE.com, it's still on the roster page. And a lot of people, even though they're pretty much like just Alex, he did a video on it, and I haven't watched it yet, but basically a lot of people are kind of happy that this has finally been confirmed, you know, somewhat. There's still a lot of people that don't believe it. A lot of people do not believe she is done with WWE because she's still on the roster page when you go to the website, and neither side has said anything. Sasha's side has not said anything. You know, WWE's not said anything. So until both sides come out and confirm, yes, what you're reading and hearing about is true, people still don't believe it. I mean, today WWE actually did come out and confirm Mandy Rose's release. You know, so that's confirmation that she's gone for the time being. But when it comes to Sasha, they haven't heard anything. They haven't heard nothing from either side. So even though Fightful Select and Shawn Ross Sapp and people like Shawn Ross Sapp are saying, yeah, it's confirmed. You know, a lot of people still feel like, hey, unless we hear it from Sasha herself, and unless we hear it from WWE themselves, we're not buying it. We don't believe it. And some people would say, well, she doesn't have to really say anything and everything. And people are even pointing out that maybe the reason she was able to walk is because she has leverage. Maybe she has something on WWE that they don't want out. I don't know. But yeah, you know, apparently she is confirmed to be free. Or at least she's going to be free come January. But is it entirely true? Or is it just another kind of like story that, you know, everybody from Shawn Ross Sapp and Raj and all of them are hearing just to throw us all off the trail, and you know, of something else coming up the road. We don't know, but it's been a day of updates when it comes to these wrestling stories, guys. You know, there is, you know, no doubt about it. You know, it's been a day of updates. You know, like I said, no doubt about it. But what do you guys think? What are your thoughts overall on this news of this updated news of Vince and you know and everything else that's going on, Mandy and Sasha? What are your thoughts? Let me know down below in the comments as well as in the live chat during the premiere. I'm home now, guys, but let me know what your thoughts are. And until then, I will talk to y'all later.